Yo, 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 what's up, all you burner stoners and potheads? This is Weedman 420 with the Weedman 420 Chronicles. How are all you vipers doing, Mrs. Weedman?
Mr. Weedman.
How the hell are you?
Very ready to get stony baloney.
Oh, I bet you are. Hey, all you vipers out there, hopefully you're smoking some big fat doinks while you're listening to the show. We're about to get normal. We're smoking a strain that was given to us last night. We'll talk about where we were last night in a minute, called Buried Treasure by Daze Off. We went to their party last night. But before we get into that, let's talk about something really cool. 8decades.com. Make sure you go on our website and check out 8decades.com for all your cannabis needs. We have the dopest rolling tray set you will ever find out there in the whole entire world.
Wow.
8decades.com. You'll get clothing. You'll get a steamroller. You get grinders. You get to see Mr. and Mrs. Weedman in our little bio. Sign up, too, for Mrs. Weedman's newsletter. It's coming out this September, right, Mrs. Weedman?
Yes, it is, for
this
sure.
This September, right?
Yes, because I failed on August, so yes.
So everybody out there in the world, please support 8decades.com, because by supporting us, we can be able to keep on doing this show. So thank you, everybody out there in the world, for supporting 8decades.com. Now, let's get to the show. Mrs. Weedman, we are smoking a strain that was given to us by our friends over at Daze Off, because we were invited to get together last night. And that was Monday. Today's Tuesday, 9/10, by the way. And we were smoking. What were we smoking? What are we smoking right now? Bread something? I don't know. I lost it. I'll find it here in a second. But what do you think? Smells good? Yeah?
Me and my taste buds don't have much.
I got to find this strain because I lost it. I'm sorry, everybody, but that's okay. I'll take a hit of that while I'm looking.
Yeah, so we went to an event last night that was hosted by Daze Off, which is a cannabis cultivator here, a brand here in Chicago. Well, they're everywhere, but they're here in Illinois.
Yeah.
And super great company, really good vibe, really, really nice people, very friendly. And they do an industry night.
Found it. Buried Treasure is
Buried
the name
Treasure.
of the strain.
So it was an industry night at a really cool space in Bridgeport.
One of my favorite places.
Called Kimski's.
And Maria's.
Kimski's and Maria's are a package store with a old speakeasy bar and a Asian, or actually Filipino, Polish fusion food that is phenomenal. They have a wonderful Korean? Not Filipino.
No, Korean.
Korean,
Polish infusion.
Not infusion,
No,
fusion.
Fusion.
Together we'll get it right. Anyway, long story short, just go there. If you're in Chicago, if you're visiting, it's delicious. So great little patio. They had a DJ playing. She was great. They had some wonderful cocktails that mirrored their rosin gummies that they were launching. They were kind of tropical, like luau themed.
Anything with
flavors.
yuzu in it,
Yuzu, yeah. So we got to enjoy their edibles. We got to enjoy some joints. They had a student class going. They had DJs. It was just a super nice, chill night for people in the industry. It was great.
Beautiful out, too. And we got to see a lot of cool people that we know all the time. We enjoy seeing everybody, especially got to see our friend Javi. Mm-hmm. You got a hug I didn't. I'm jealous.
Ha ha. Ha ha Javi.
So, but all the folks at Daze Off are super cool. We appreciate you inviting us, and let's be a part of the fun and shenanigans and the hoopla. And we thank you all at Daze Off for inviting us, and let's come and just chill and relax and not have to
not entertain. It's nice to sit down and have a conversation with people that we see in the cannabis space all the time, but we're all working.
Always working. So
we never get to know each other. So it was really nice in that way, just to sit down and have a conversation.
I appreciate Daze Off for letting us come and chill and just relax and have a nice, cool night in the enjoyable, beautiful Chicago weather and a great bar. So thanks, Daze Off. We appreciate you for inviting us.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had a crazy Saturday.
We did.
It was a 15-hour day.
Just about, yeah.
And we got invited to the Illinois Craft Showcase in Tilton, Illinois at Parkway Dispensary, Molly's Joint. It's we've talked about it in the last episode, but it was about, 30, 40 vendors? Yeah. Vendors and craft cultivators there between all of us in their beautiful beer garden with a beautiful stage. And we got there, started at 11, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we got there, started at noon.
Setup started at 11.
Yeah, so we got there at 11-ish.
Started at noon.
And from noon till 6:30, I never got a chance to leave my seat.
It was very busy.
We were busy. And as you know, if you've ever came to an event that Mr. and Mrs. Weedman are at, and we have our 8 Decades table set up, and then I have the podcast table set up. And Mrs. Weedman has been amazing at being able to get people to come to the line and get people filed in and tell them our story and tell them about our product. Because I
give the spiel.
You give the spiel, as you call it. And I love when people come to the table like, you want to hear the spiel? Sure. And actually, everybody wanted to hear the spiel.
Yeah.
So I don't think you had one person say no. But I sit there and I roll doinks or stuffed doinks. And I'd like to thank Midwest Terps for sponsoring the table with some phenomenal tree flower.
Blew some people away.
Oh, I tell you what.
They hadn't smoked anything like that before.
They had never smoked no shit like this before. And so we had 5 different strains, right? 5 different strains. And I had 1.25 ounces, 1.5 ounces on me. And I came back, I think, with 1/8.
Yeah. I
stuffed 91 joints. And we did 20 volcano bags. And my knuckles hurt. From all
we didn't eat. I shoveled down a protein bar at some point. I tried to feed you one. You're like, no, I just gotta roll. I gotta roll.
We had a line. Anywhere between 2 people to 10 people.
Just
and
constant.
There was just people all just gathered around. Because I don't even think people cared there was a line. Everybody knew they were going to get served. But what cool was people came and signed up for our newsletter. That's coming out when?
In September.
There you go. And,
of 2024.
But after people signed up, they knew I had an eye on who was getting next, or I just asked who was next. They curved around us. So there was and actually people were trying to block the wind. I probably lost about 2 grams, 3 grams of weed because of all the wind.
Yeah.
It was so windy. But it came in gusts. And it was a beautiful day, though, otherwise. It was, thank God for that wind, because it was that sun.
We didn't have a tent.
No.
We forgot our sign. We were 2.5 hours away. We couldn't go back and get it. So we didn't have any signage.
But what people knew?
It was busy enough that people would hear or see the traffic at our table and just want to see what was going on. Like, oh, we heard something exciting's happening here. Yeah.
What was awesome was that people got to experience a very good grower in this state, and a very good. Both of them, Midwest Terps, the 2 of them are phenomenal people, and I want to thank them for giving people the experience to try really good flower.
Oh, people were grabbing stickers. They were scanning scanning our QR codes primarily, but I think everyone that stopped at our
Midwest
table.
Terp stickers.
I don't think there was one person I remember when I said, "Do you want the spiel?" He didn't really want the spiel, but he kind of wanted to know what we were doing, so I gave him the mini spiel, and then I said, "So that's our newsletter. If you'd like to sign up for our newsletter, then I gave him the program, how it goes,
how it works."
And he was like, He stood back. He stepped back away from the table. It was just funny. He was really, really thinking about whether or not he was going to give his email away and whether it would constitute waiting in line to have a joint.
Right.
And so I don't know if he ever didn't, but 9 times out of 10, people were signing up for a newsletter and hanging around.
10, I think that's just one person out of the
that
91 joints and the 20 volcanoes.
And they were scanning Midwest Terps QR code. Right. They wanted to hear all about it. They loved the stories.
So
they just really loved it.
What was really cool about what we do when we do these events is that I sit there and I let you smell the different strains. Mm-hmm. Because I say it all the time, your nose always knows what your body's going to want. Mm-hmm. And you taste through your olfactory glands and that's through your nose. So people got a chance to really smell some high quality terps and to really look at the buds. Because I always put a bud like in my hand. I don't let anyone touch it, but just take a look at it. After you get to smell inside the bag, mm-hmm. get your nose nice up there and be able to smell true caregiver, home grow flower that is so fresh and so fragrant. And I mean, people got that. When I busted out that blueberry cupcake, mm-hmm. I watched people's faces and people's nose and their eyes light up, and it was just like, what do you think it smells like? They're like, it fucking smells like blueberry cake, mm-hmm. like a blueberry muffin. I'm like, I know. Mm-hmm. I know. You need to follow him and tell him that. You need to follow them and tell them that, mm-hmm. because it was an experience, and there was a phenomenal craft growers there. There was some phenomenal Illinois craft growers there mm-hmm. that I've gotten to meet and talk and smoke some of their weed. But it hits different when you get really good weed.
Yeah.
And it just that guy from Florida.
Yes, he was so blown away.
This was really good.
Yeah.
So I'll tell this story, and because to me, it is like just you got to experience watching somebody's time for smoking like weed. They've never tried no shit like this before weed, And he was from Florida, from Key West, and so we're sitting there, and
also had never experienced public consumption.
yes,
In the sense of it being completely okay to do.
right.
Like he obviously consumed in public, but breaking a law. So he just was like, really? I can light up here. And it's like totally okay. I can't, it was like mind blowing to him. So he just couldn't even.
So we, I think he had bath salts, which is such a potent strain. Such a potent strain. And
because he was like, oh, am I going to chew someone's face off?
Yes,
We're like, no.
And it's such a stanky, just dankety diggity dank strain that when he smelt it, he's like, come on. I'm like, come on, what? He's like, this is not real. I'm like, he goes, this is like, I'm like, I'm telling you, wait till you smoke it. I said, you're from Florida. You've probably smoked decent weed, but you've never smoked really good weed. And so I'm grinding. He's watching the whole process go. He's watching me stuff. He's watching me doing it on the whole setup on the tray and stuff like that. That we have the case that you gave me, and it's all. And he's just totally. And he's telling us a story a little bit. We're talking about the keys. We're talking about why he moved up here. He moved up here for his wife. He met his wife down there, and they moved up here. So it was such a cute story. And totally though, Florida, he had flip flops on.
Yeah.
But he had the surfer long sleeve shirt on with the hat, the fishing hat.
He looked like a fisherman, like a boat captain.
Yes, boat deckhand, and
no, like a captain.
Captain.
Yeah.
So and it was just great. So I roll him this joint, and he's like, "Can I just light it up here?" I'm like, "Light it up. You do whatever the fuck you want. They're not gonna stop you." He was like, "Holy shit!" So he lighted it up, and then he took a hit. Passed it to me. Did you get a hit of it?
I don't think I smoked off of that.
No?
No.
I think he passed it to his wife.
Yeah.
And then he passed it back to me. I was like, no, man, I'm going to be smoking all day.
Yeah.
I'm good. This is for you to enjoy. Thank you for the one hit. He came back with like 5 minutes later. And he's like, I couldn't finish it.
He's like, I had to put that out. That's different. He's like, that's different.
Shit hits different when it's
no
fresh.
Game. No game.
It's amazing and it's grown correctly, So I hope everybody got to enjoy really good flower, the different flavors and like I said, I went through 1.25 ounces. I think, or a little bit less. I mean, I went over 1 ounce. I came back with it less than 1/8. I think I'm seeing them on the table over there, and but I saved because I'm such a pig when it comes to weed. I made sure I saved some blueberry cupcake. I saved
yourself.
like 2 really nice nugs of that blueberry cupcake.
Because I want to try it.
And I think I saved one strain of the Vegas one nug of the Vegas. But you had tried the lemon berry, and you've already tried the bat salts, which is amazing. But the lemon berry was phenomenal.
It was great.
Yeah, and then the dung one, I can't remember, the dung dope or dope dung or dung or whatever, something dung.
They looked like little gumballs.
Oh
they were
my
just,
god!
Yeah.
When people were smelling that dung,
that was so terpy.
I mean, so every strain was just
dung?
Dude, it could have been that dope dung. I can't remember. I'm sorry, Midwest Terps, but I will say this: thank you for supporting the table. Thank you for letting people experience the true nature of what the plant is supposed to be about and how important caregiver home grow is to this community here across the world. Ain't nothing better than home grow. Sorry out there, all you cultivators. I love you.
Well, I mean, what were cultivators? Everyone starts as a home grow, right? And some people's exploration goes bigger, 100%. And some people want to maintain just a small garden,
right? But
that's what it's all about.
So, if it wasn't for the traditional market and home growers or people growing underground, we wouldn't have the legal market today because you needed them to get into that market to grow weed. So thank you to all the craft growers.
They're passionate across the board, right?
Yes. But it's amazing, though, to watch people's faces when they smoke really good weed.
It's not your average plug.
No,
right?
not at all. So it is caregiver at its finest. Oh, there was another funny thing that happened. This was classic, and so it's probably like 4:35, and there was a woman that came up to the table by herself, and I I think you were talking to people, and I said, "Would you like a joint?" She goes, "What do I got?" Well, yeah, I would love one. I said, "Okay." I said, "This is 8 Decades, my wife's company, and this is we have a podcast." And I said, "Sign up for our email list, and I'll roll you a joint." She goes, "Okay." So I'm rolling her one up, and I'm really stoned. I think we just did 2 volcano bags, and I smoked with these people that wanted to smoke with me, so I was pretty fucking high. So I'm like in the zone, and next thing you know, these 3 girls came up to me. Women came up to me, and they said, "What's this all about? You're really popular. You're like, we heard you're like the most popular person here." I said, "Don't let this fool you. The only reason why I'm popular is because I'm giving away free weed." And I think I threw all 3 of them for a loop. And then the woman that was waiting for the joint that I was already rolling just broke out in tears laughing. She goes, I did not think you were going to say something like that, but I'm like, it's the truth.
Right.
Would you came
Wouldn't
to this
you wait in
table,
line? Right.
You came to this table because you heard someone was giving away free joints.
Right.
I would go to a table if I heard someone was not just giving away a joint, but hand stuffing it and giving it to you. Right. I would definitely show up and wait in line for that, whether it was 5 to 20 people deep. I don't know if I'd go any further than that.
Yeah.
But it was long, and I caught them off guard, and they all were dying laughing. So that was, I mean, I'm only popular because I'm giving away free weed.
It's pretty funny.
So, what was your fun moment of that event?
Oh, I don't know if I can share. It was a bit of an industry moment. It was a person from a brand talking about a product that was a suppository.
Oh, gosh.
And where that conversation went.
Oh, yes. I was loading the car.
Yes, you were loading the car.
I actually left you with this person on purpose because I was like, if I sit here, I'm never going to... It's like 6:45, 7 o'clock.
And he was a talker.
Yeah, and I wanted to get home.
Yeah.
And
we had a 2.5-hour drive.
Yeah, and I'm like, I got to load the car, but she's going to be here packing stuff. You can talk to her.
Yeah, thanks.
Bye.
Yeah, I heard some stories.
This is a pretty good story, though. You could probably talk about it.
Like this is a new product we're developing, and So he was like, like he didn't know if he should say the things he needed to say. He's like, so it's like you don't eat it. I'm like, it's a suppository, but he didn't want to use that word, and he's like, well, but it goes in the vagina. Then he got like real scientific. It goes into the vagina. I'm like, yeah, suppository or a yes, I get it. I know what you're saying. He's like, yeah. We've had some really good results with it. He's like, we've had a couple of stories come back. So one woman, she used it, and it's really good for inflammation and any kind of pain you're having. But apparently, it just makes women go wild. And this was just like a regular housewife, and she went home, and she was married, and she called her neighbor, and next thing you know, she's at her neighbor's house, and then there's 5 men there, like 5 other neighbors, and she had sex with all these men. I'm like, come on. Like, this did not happen because of any bit of marijuana or THC or CBD. Like, what the fuck? And then apparently...
It went on and on.
I don't need to explain anymore,
yes,
right?
You're good.
Okay.
Yeah, you're good.
That was more than enough.
Right.
I was like, oh
but I remember I came rolling up with the car.
And then there was a lube.
Yes.
I'm like, we don't need to talk. I can figure that one out. Thanks.
So just so you know, everybody, there's going to be some new products hitting the market here. One's a suppository for women in the front. And the other one is lube that could be used for men or women.
Whatever. Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
So, or whoever.
So, I mean.
So, new products going to hit Illinois here soon.
Check your local dispensary for sexual pleasures. There'll be a little sex shop corner.
Oh, my gosh. I remember when they walked away and you were still packing up and you're like, you just missed out on a fucked up conversation.
Yeah.
I don't know what was going on.
I don't even know what was happening. I didn't even know I didn't have words. My brain had a lot of words.
For like the first hour home,
I was trying to be respectful.
For the first hour home, you were driving and you were just like so perplexed about that conversation.
Yeah,
you had to
it caused women to have orgies and gangbangs. I was like, what? Well, number one, that's not good. That's not good. And what else might be in there? I don't know.
Oh man.
Woo.
Did he give you a couple to try?
Yeah. It's like unlabeled jar of capsules with liquid in them. Do you think I'm going to put that in my body? I don't know what that is. What the fuck?
I know somebody that would.
Yeah, somebody else can be exploratory. Here you go. If you have a gangbang, please don't tell me. I don't want to know.
We don't want to know. But tell the company that's making those that they work.
Their claims are accurate. Wow.
Oh, my goodness. I tell you what.
Yeah, but then at the end of the day, it was discovered that I wasn't who he thought I was.
Even better.
So he disclosed all sorts of proprietary information
We got
to
free stuff, too.
a woman who owns a cannabis accessory line. He thought I worked for a
distributor.
parallel business. Yeah. Oh, what a day. What a day.
I tell you what, I love cannabis events for so many reasons, and those are one of them. You know, what's that song? People are strange.
People are strange.
Yeah, when you're a stranger.
Yeah. Faces look ugly.
When you're alone. So, I tell you what, I enjoy cannabis events. So if you want to invite us to your cannabis event, we're happy to show up and roll joints for people.
Yeah.
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 Have some fun, right? We will be this Saturday. We will be at Karma Club. We got invited to Karma Club to hang out.
Socially.
But I'll be rolling doinks. I'm bringing my case as always. So come find me if you want to try some weed. And I'll be there and hanging out and smoking weed with everybody and having a good time. And Mrs. Weedman will be there too. So come check us out at Karma Club on Clybourne, right? In downtown
It's
Chicago.
their 1 year anniversary.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. We'll be there having some fun.
Yeah.
Laughing it up, hoopling, boondoggling.
Hoopla
and boondoggling.
Hoopling. Whoop, whoop.
Thank you, Daze Off, for getting us stoned.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
pretty baked.
I'm
so
pretty
appreciate
baked.
it. So you ready to get the show started, Ms. Weedman?
Yeah, I think I need my glasses on.
This is
Let's do it.
All right, let's do this. This is big.
Yeah.
This article kind of changes everything that we've been talking about the last, and people in the industry and what this was supposedly to do. I am not 100% sure this article is. This was launched like 4 or 5 days ago over the weekend, and I read it and I read the headlines. I'm like, whoa. You ready for the headlines?
Yeah.
All right. CBD amplifies THC's impact instead of mitigating it. New cannabis research reveals. Everything's changed. If this article is seriously facts,
Oh, I want to know more.
right?
Yeah.
So they did some research. A recent study published in Clinical Pharmacology and Therapeutics challenges conventional wisdom about the interaction between CBD and THC, revealing that it may be not only incorrect, but actually the opposite of what is commonly believed. Contrary to popular belief that CBD can reduce the negative effects of THC, the study found that CBD did not mitigate these adverse effects. In fact, a high dose of CBD, 450 milligrams, significantly enhanced the effects of THC, likely due to a pharmacokinetic interaction that increased THC levels in the bloodstream. Now, before I go any further, this is a long article, so stick with us. I've read and researched a few years back, I can't remember what episode it was, the higher doses you take of CBD has been known to cause psychoactive effects just like THC.
Right.
They didn't have a true dose, but it was anywhere in the high 300, 400, 500s to 1,000 milligram. Has had that effect on people. So you're mixing a high level of CBD at 450 milligrams to somebody that might not be that CBD tolerant. They didn't have that. They didn't need that much. Just like us with THC. I don't need a 50 milligram
Right.
THC edible. I only need 10. That's just my dose for my medicine. So there, right there, kind of for me, the high dose you're giving somebody can perform psychoactive effects. But there's more. Cannabis has gained attention not only as a recreational drug, but also for its potential therapeutic benefits, especially in pain management. THC, the main psychoactive compound in cannabis, is known for its analgesic properties, but also for causing a range of adverse effects, such as cognitive impairment, anxiety, and psychomotor disturbances. CBD, on the other hand, is non-intoxicating. and has been suggested to counteract some of THC's negative effects. This is what we've known, right? This belief has led to a widespread use of CBD-rich cannabis products, both for recreational and medicinal purposes. Excuse me, everybody. However, the scientific evidence supporting the idea that CBD can mitigate THC's adverse effects is inconsistent. Some studies have shown that CBD can reduce THC-induced anxiety and psychosis, while others have found no such proactive effects. Scientists sought to clarify this issue by rigorously testing whether CBD can reduce the adverse effects of THC without compromising its analgesic benefits. By doing so, they aim to provide a clearer guidance on the safe and effective use of cannabis-based products. People active in cannabis fields always say CBD takes the edge off from THC, anxiety can be less, there is an entourage effect of other cannabinoids that plays a role in how THC in cannabis is experienced. But the scientific evidence was very thin. We are pharmacologists and know how to scientifically demonstrate interaction between drugs, which is why we performed a rigorous scientific experiment, explained the author Garrett John Gronvled, a professor of clinical neuropharmacology at Lindeen University Medical Center and CEO of the Center of Human Drug Research. Okay? So stats are there, right? Would you say? Credible, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah. The study involved 37 healthy volunteers age 18 to 45 who experience with cannabis but use it infrequently. To participate, volunteers had to meet strict health criteria, including being free from any psychotic disorders or conditions that could affect the sensitivity to pain. Importantly, participants had to abstain from cannabis and other substances that could influence the study's results for several weeks before the experiment. So you're going in on a clean slate. Okay? The research was conducted at the Center of Human Drug Research in the Netherlands using a double-blind placebo-controlled 5-way crossover design. Ooh, 5-way. Wow. Damn.
Okay.
This means that each participant received 5 different treatments in a random order, with a sufficient washout period between sessions to ensure no carryover effects from previous treatments. Okay? The treatments include THC alone, THC combined with 3 different doses of CBD, 10 milligrams, 30 milligrams, and 450 milligrams, and a placebo. Participants received the treatments orally, with CBD administered 30 minutes before THC to ensure that both substances would peak in the bloodstream at the same time. Now, so they administered 30 minutes before, not after the person was already stoned.
Right.
By taking THC. Okay? So that's what I've read so far. So I've always was told you need to take it after you feel high. But I could be wrong. Okay? This is what someone told me a long time ago. The research then measured various effects in multiple time points over 6 hours, using a combination of subjective self-reports and objective tests. The subjective measures included assessments of mood, anxiety, and the sensation of feeling high, while objective measures evaluated cognitive and psychomotor performance, such as reaction times and postural stability. Additionally, the research measured the analgesic effects using a series of pain tests that involved heat, pressure, electric stimulation, and cold exposure. Okay? They're putting them through some tests, right? Rather than reducing THC's effects, the researchers found that the highest dose of CBD, 450 milligrams, significantly increased them. I think if I took 450 milligrams of CBD, I'd be pretty fucked. I'd be like that too. If you're not used to that kind of dose, you know. Participants reported feeling more intoxicated, and their cognitive and psychomotor performance was more impaired compared to when they took THC alone. This increase in effects was likely due to CBD interfering with metabolism of THC, leading to higher levels of THC and its psychoactive metabolite in the bloodstream. There's more. The lower dose of CBD, 10 milligrams and 30 milligrams, did not significantly alter the effects of THC. There was no reduction in THC-induced anxiety, cognitive impairment, or other adverse effects at these dose levels, suggesting that CBD does not counteract THC's effects when taken together orally. There's more.
When taken together orally.
Okay.
Okay.
CBD does not in any way alleviate mimetic effects of THC or reduce anxiety, Gronveld told SciPost. In anything in higher dose levels, it will enhance the effects of THC because the breakdown of THC in the liver is inhibited by CBD.
That's interesting. Makes the high last longer.
So if you're taking a 1-to-1 dose of CBD to THC, gummy, edible,
Yeah.
it's going to inhibit it and get you higher, is what it's saying, or the high will last longer.
Yeah.
Right? And it doesn't that's why every time I take a 1-to-1 dose, I still feel pretty high. Hence why I've always heard, and what I've learned years ago, if you're too high, you take CBD after.
Right.
But it was always smoking. If you're too high from smoking, you take a CBD tincture or gummy.
And I feel like since I've been taking a CBD tincture daily, a few times throughout the day, I feel like my tolerance has greatly increased, which is odd. But like the dosing of the two aren't parallel.
Right.
Like I take my CBD during the day and I don't consume cannabis.
So it's already
until
CBD's already
the
been
evening.
in your system.
Right.
And you don't really eat THC until we go to bed. You
Right.
smoke you smoke it.
So then the CBD, I guess, is out of my system by that time.
Maybe not.
Maybe not.
You know, because you're taking it throughout the day.
Yeah.
And you take it every day. So it's
I
actually
take it like
in your,
twice,
it's
2 to 3 times
It's
a day.
actually in your body every day.
Yeah.
I've always said, if you're going to take CBD
You got to take it.
every day, unless you want to take it with some THC to help kickstart the CBD. Hence why ratios are always so nice. Hence what it said there, suggesting that CBD does not counteract THC's effects when taken together orally. Hence the 1-to-1 ratio, or the 2-to-1 ratio, or a 20-to-1 ratio. I've been saying this since I've learned about the CBD ratio thing 5 years ago, was you need a little CBD. I mean, you need a little THC to kickstart CBD into your endocannabinoid system to help your CB1 and CB2 receptors intake that CBD into your body.
Right.
I've been saying that since I learned it. And it's saying that here, taking together orally does not counteract it. Right. Because you need THC to, if you're not going to take CBD every day, like a multivitamin, every day, whatever your dosage is going to be, 20 milligrams, 50 milligrams, 10 milligrams, if you're not going to take it every day, it's not going to work correctly. It's not going to get into your body. So if you're only going to take it sporadically, like I don't take CBD every day, but when I do, because I want more of a body high because my back aches and CBD helps my back, I like to take a good 20-to-1 ratio, or a 1-to-1 ratio, or a 4-to-1 ratio.
4 parts THC, 1 part CBD.
Depends.
Yeah.
Depends. So but I like a good higher dose of CBD. I love a 20, 30, and only need 1 milligram or 5 milligrams of THC.
Right.
Because I want more of a body relaxing high. I don't want to be in my head. I want my back to stop hurting. I want more pain relief, especially when I've been in a car all day driving around. Your back gets stiff. You know, you're in that position that your back's not used to staying at all the time. Hence the old man back. So having that, so like I said, I read that paragraph 3 times about not counteracting. So despite the increase in THC psychoactive effects with the highest dose of CBD, the pain relieving effects did not significantly differ between the different treatment conditions. This finding suggests that while CBD may alter the overall experience of THC, it does not enhance its pain-relieving properties. Maybe for some. While the study was well designed and controlled, it is not without caveats. One limitation is the route of administration. The study only examined that effects of oral THC and CBD. So they only took it orally. They didn't smoke it. They didn't take a suppository. You know, like we're finding out over the weekend. Right? So, sorry. Furthermore, the study did not include a CBD-only condition. which would have provided clearer insights into specific effects of CBD without the influence of THC. However, the researchers have been conducting additional studies focused solely on high doses of CBD. We've continued to perform a study with CBD only, also very high dose levels, and to try to demonstrate effects on the central nervous system, on brain function, Graveld said. We haven't published this yet, but we can't. But what we can tell you is there is no evidence whatsoever that CBD is active on the central nervous system. It does not cause sedation or lead to subjective drug effects that can be picked up by our very sensitive test battery that we also use to measure drug effects of drugs being developed by the pharmaceutical industry. The new findings are in line with recent neuroimaging study published by the Neuropsychopharmacology, which could found that. Well, I will tell you this: THC and CBD makes me smarter. Because that was a hard fucking word, and I got it spot on. I didn't even practice that fucker. Which found that CBD did not mitigate the may even worsen the disruptive effects of THC on brain connectivity. Researchers observed significant reduction in connectivity across key brain networks after cannabis use, with the addition of CBD leading to even greater disruptions in some cases. Similarly, a study on rodents published on the neurobiology of disease found that CBD did not protect against the harmful effects of perinatal cannabis exposure. Instead, it appeared to exacerbate the impact of THC on the brain development, behavior, and offspring. There's some additional CBD research, and it's always coming, right? Mm-hmm. Since the discovery of CBD has been a focus of research around the globe, Croatian research recently published their work on quality of life CBD factors bring. What they found was that it can really take the edge off of the day. This was a randomized crossover trial of 64 patients with hypertension. Each received 5 weeks of anywhere from 225 to 450 milligrams of CBD and 5 weeks of placebo. Participants spent 2 weeks taking no cannabinoids between the two administration periods. Patients used multiple self-reporting assessment tools to share about the quality of sleep, sleeplessness during the day, potential memory issues, and general anxiety. After receiving the CBD and not the placebo, patients mostly increased their sleepiness score. Everyone felt more bright-eyed and bushy-tailed throughout the day. Patients also recorded increased psychological well-being and vitality after 5 weeks of CBD. Learning more about what CBD can do provides patients, brands, consumers, bud tenders, and everyone in the cannabis sphere with more insight in how to best utilize the plant. These studies supply brushstrokes to the masterpiece of what this cannabinoid can do. Without more focused research, it is impossible to wholly know the power of the plant.
That's right.
Right?
Right.
So, very interesting article. Very interesting research. I read about 5 articles that came out about this after they launched that whole, and learning about it and everything I've learned over the last 5.5 years about CBD. There's a lot we don't know, and there's a lot we do know. You wanted to talk a little bit about your experience, and you did a little bit on the article. Mm-hmm. You've been smoking weed regularly. You've been smoking flower, THC flower now regularly. Now, let's just say every day. Mm-hmm. Before it was maybe 3 days a week, 4 days a week, maybe once every couple of days. Who knows what it was 10 years ago, right? Mm-hmm. The last 5.5 years, you've been smoking weed every day.
Oh, yeah.
Right. But you also now take CBD every day. Mm-hmm. And other cannabinoids too, right?
Yeah.
What would you say, all the different cannabinoids you take now, what would you say they have done for you?
They help with pain. They help with inflammation in my body. I have chronic pain. I have some appetite issues because of my lack of taste. So it's hard to find things that are appealing to eat. So I'm kind of
eat a hell of a lot of apples, though.
Yeah, apples are good. Apples and peanut butter. So cannabis can help with that, although I tend to munch out. Not always helpful, but there's just a lot of areas. Sleeping, it calms me if I'm all worked up about something. Say I've had a really stressful day with work, or I've got just coming up to a jammed day, or there's just some element of extra stress. It just lets me relax when I can't otherwise. I don't know. I think I could just go on and on. I like it recreationally, just again, to just kind of free my mind and let all the garbage that I think about way too frequently with work and business and all the things that we have going on in life. It's like, there's not a lot of rest. And so cannabis helps me be more relaxed in moments when I have an hour to be free. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like it's just a game changer.
Right.
Yeah. And sleep is like, I don't even know if I'd be sleeping 2 hours a night if I didn't have cannabis.
I still got to buy you that dry air
be-
vaporizer to put by the table.
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
sometimes you wake up
I
and
wake up,
you
yeah.
need that one little hit to put you back to sleep.
Yeah. So for just many, many, many reasons, I could just go on. And yeah, has my intake increased greatly? Has my tolerance increased? Yeah, not even substantially though. But I would say it's increased.
Right.
My usage has increased, but I don't think it's a habit. It's not something that rules my life, but I benefit from it, so I seek it.
Right.
And yeah, I've traveled. I've recently traveled, and I've brought weed along. But if it was inconvenient to smoke, or I was in a state that wasn't legal, if it was just me consuming, I would probably just have an edible, and
Some tinctures.
yeah, have some little edibles, tinctures. Or I could just skip for a moment. Like, it's not the end of the world. I don't feel like I'm dependent on it. It's just
It helps.
I take medicine for a medical condition every day. I take cannabis for a medical condition every day. So why can't they both be a daily thing without why does one have to be considered habitual? You know what I mean?
Right.
It's medicine. And it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
So
We go to dispensaries every once in a while, right?
yeah.
I go to dispensaries a lot. But how do you, the question is, we've talked about dispensaries, and we've talked about this subject quite often because it's fairly new in a lot of states, or becoming new in some states, and more states are going to be voting on it. So recreational is becoming very important. We have Florida going to be voting on it. We have Nebraska now going on the ballot for medical. We have Kentucky starting in July for medical. We have the Dakotas voting for recreational. We have states on the Northeast voting for rec, and we have so much stuff going on right now in the cannabis world. And the one thing is, you will be going to a dispensary to buy your weed. So in some states, dispensaries are impeccable. In some states, there's some pretty shitty dispensaries.
And not even, obviously you or I aren't going to travel 10 hours to the other end of a state to go to the good one.
No.
So most people are dealing with their neighboring dispensary.
Right.
Or they're traveling somewhere and they want to know where the
Where's the
dispensary
good place
is,
to go?
right?
Right. So how do you pick the right one?
Yeah. Every state is in its own phase of cannabis legalization. Washington and Colorado have reached a sense of normalcy in their weed culture, while Ohio and Minnesota are just getting things moving. Meanwhile, New York grapples with an industry in its infancy, competing with a long-standing unlicensed legacy market. While the politics and licensing drama plays out, consumers are often along for the ride, with little to no guidance on topics like how to pick their cannabis dispensary. There are consumer archetypes in the cannabis community. One is longtime patients who have often been fighting for legal weed for years, maybe even decades. They usually know what they're looking for and are possibly well informed on nuances of weed, like the endocannabinoid system, and seek intentionally clean, pesticide-free products. Newly prescribed patients often want quality products too, but may need more education than longtime advocates. This crowd may prefer a quieter dispensary space to weigh product options and speak with knowledgeable staff members. This is especially true for those brand new to weed who may feel nervous about entering the uncharted space. On the other side of the spectrum, cannabis connoisseurs may seek out the newest phenotypes or freshest, sparkling live rosin or resin. They will likely have all of the education they desire and seek a more lively storefront with hip music and the latest weed devices. And then canna-curious shoppers could be a little of both, and entering a dispensary for the first time may be nerve-wracking, especially for those bought fully into the 1990s to 2000s DARE program. For them, being rushed or overstimulated by too much newness may make it harder to focus on finding the right product. On the other hand, many canna-curious shoppers want to find new cool vapes, strains, and oils. This group should seek out a store that's not medically focused and have enough time to walk through choosing their perfect strain. So these many types of consumers that are in different stores, the question is how to figure out which store to go to before walking through the doors. And luckily, that's as easy as 1, 2, 3. There are multiple places where consumers can review a dispensary, including traditional spots like Google and cannabis-specific sites like Weed Maps. Reading a few of those reviews provides valuable insight into the expected consumer experience. However, be aware of too many good reviews that don't give much information. Some stores offer discounts and incentives to rack up positive online feedback. Look specifically at the 1 to 2 star reviews to balance out this potential anomaly. Reading online experiences from fellow cannabis consumers should provide a newcomer with information necessary to choose where they want to shop. Good reviews are only one piece of the puzzle. Even a great shop may not stock products consumers seek. In more established markets like Washington State, stores have settled into a niche. One shop is known for the highest quality extracts, while another focuses on medically oriented products. These specialties are sometimes apparent from the reviews, but the best way to understand what a shop has is by looking at its menu. And luckily, almost every dispensary in the country has a regularly updated online menu on their website. Checking the menu is good for finding a new store and for preparing to pick out products. Familiarizing oneself with strains or edibles and choosing a few to ask a bud tender about is a foolproof way to walk out with quality bud and a bit of education. Cluing into the pulse of dispensary culture in any city is best done by asking around. So find a friend who loves cannabis. Ask the baristas at a coffee shop which store they would recommend while ringing out your latte, or ask the server while paying your bill. Getting in touch with the local cannabis dispensary culture is sometimes as easy as connecting with a local. A good first-time dispensary experience may require research, especially in more established cannabis markets. It is perfectly acceptable to visit a place with little to no research, but regarded as such. Those reading reviews, checking menus, and asking around may have more luck finding their desired weed shopping experience. These tips ring especially true for newcomers, first-time patients, and those in new weed cities for the first time. Be a conscious shopper and find the best weed. It's as easy as that. Boom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, do you think you know how to pick out some good weed?
I think so.
Yeah.
My nose knows.
Nose always knows, but you can't really smell it when you go to the dispensary.
I know.
You know? But here's what you do.
But
There are some phenomenal people that work in this industry. We already talk about the bud tenders. We talk about we never talk about this group of phenomenal workers in the industry, and those are the brand ambassadors. There are some phenomenal brand ambassadors across the country, and these are some of the. They drive more miles than anybody I know in the cannabis industry, besides the truck drivers, the transporters, delivery folk. And they put the miles and the hours, and it's a thankless job. And it is a lot of work, and you have to have a smile on your face for at least between 2 to 7 hours a day, depending on how long you're doing a pop-up or a vendor day or an event.
Or an education.
Staff
training.
Staff trainings. Pop-ins and pop-outs, meaning bringing treats and delights to the staff of the bud tenders. And they are the brand builders. They are the marketing team's ground soldiers. And they kill it. I have met so many phenomenal brand ambassadors in my time of being in cannabis. And all of them out there, thank you for the hard work. And thank you for the thankless job that no one ever thanks you for, because you're there doing God's work. And I see what you have to sometimes deal with. And sometimes it's fun, sometimes it's okay, and sometimes you have to go to your car 10 times to take a hit of that fucking dab rig out there you got there to make it through the other couple hours you have. Because sometimes you're there for an hour, sometimes you're there for 2 hours, sometimes you're there for 3 hours in one spot, and you don't move. Thank you for all the hard work, all the weekends you work, because you work on the weekends.
Yep.
So thank you all there, brand ambassadors. So, and they are the ones you want to talk to when it comes to knowing about good weed.
Yep.
When you see them going into these dispensaries or events, ask them. They don't only just smoke the weed that they promote and sell and tell stories about. They smoke everybody else's weed too. They are the ones, not only just the bud tenders, but they are the ones that tell you when you go into that store what to buy and follow their lead because they know. So you think they know good weed? I do. Cannabis packaging stays front and center in the dispensary experience. This is a major touch point for consumers faced with walls of options. Walls. How packaging looks is important to draw people in. But is it worth so much more than its face value? I think it's not worth shit, personally. I think you just need to read what the weed is. I don't think it needs to be bright and colorful. I think we spend too much waste on packaging. I think it's terrible.
Yeah.
I think you should bring people bring in their own glass jars in and let them come and get their weed and put it in the jar. You seal it right there in front of them with a sticker of what the weed is, and then they take it home. And then there's no waste. But what do I know? Pre-roll tubes. In sales data, it's believed that people love pre-rolls. I like a good pre-roll. These products come in packaging sizes depending on how many joints are in a unit. Plastic tubes with squeezable pop tops are the most common. There's going to be another article I'm going to read you about pre-rolls in a second. I'm going to blow your mind. And can fit 2 large joints if needed. Many tubes will contain 1. There are also joint packs, which might come sealed in plastic bags within boxes. Saints have made a name for themselves in Washington State with limited edition decorative arts packs of joints. People, I went to that one fucking dispensary, I can't remember, in Seattle, and they had a wall of pre-rolls in gun holster bullet holsters. I thought that was amazing. And I used to walk around with a joint holder. It was a bullet holder with pre-rolls that I rolled in tubes, remember? And I used to hand them out to people all the time.
Well, that one dispensary in Seattle, I think it was Reef, they had like clear acrylic. The whole back wall of the cash out area was
Right, that's what I was talking about.
Yeah,
I couldn't remember the name of the dispensary.
And like all the joint tube. I mean, there were probably...
And it was in it was in a gun bullet. It was in leather bullet holsters. Yes, I promise you.
We have very different memories.
I'm telling you, I was there. I was like, that is the most amazing thing I ever said. You put it, and I said, I did that like in 2015. I'd walk around with a bandolier. That's what they had on the wall with the pre-rolls in every single one of them. You get to pick. There was a board, a chalkboard.
That was a display, but not like the big display.
Yeah, but they went up and just pulled them there and then gave them to you. It was great. It was, and I think it was Reef because I think that's where I bought my hoodie from. Flower packaging, dry herbs is the best. By the way, connoisseurs cannot help but take a sniff of weed-filled jar, and even beginners have memories of hitting a joint or seeing one passed around. There are 2 ways modern weed is mostly common packaged: bags and jars. Mylar bags. I really wish that people would switch to Grove bags versus Mylar bags, but they're packaging solution made for polyester film. Ugh. And that's what your weed and edibles are all in now, and often used to preserve pharmaceuticals, food, and now weed. Cannabis flower packaged in Mylar bags might not keep it as fresh as other options, but it tends to be a cheaper choice for manufacturers. The saving trickles down for the consumers and more affordable pricing. But be sure to check the packaging date to ensure the product won't be crispy or flattened. Dry weed makes for a harsh smoke. It's best to avoid it. If you get Mylar bags, have yourself some glass jars. When you get home, take it out of the Mylar bag and put it in the glass jar. Simple as that. Glass jars. Premium weed is often sold pre-weighed in jars, sometimes with plastic lids and other times with metal. There are also corked options with bringing high aesthetics valued, but can be tricky to get completely all right. Glass jars are a fantastic packaging option, but are also often pricier. But I do see people now using mirror and glass jars they're packaging in too. Yeah, it's great. This, like Mylar, translates to price. Those who want to
There's a lot of fake violet glass jars.
Yes, there is.
Just saying.
want to live more sustainably and also appreciate glass over I love glass. I love when I go to a dispensary and they serve glass. I still have some of the glass jars that I store my weed in still from ones I got from dispensary. So I reuse my jars. I don't throw glass away ever. And plastic goes in the recycle bin, Dab containers. Concentrates like live resin and shatter come in a few types of containers. Small glass containers are standard and make it easy to scrape or even every last glob. Silicone tubes are seen often for aftermarket use, but are rarely used by brands. These are useful for more solid concentrates, but things may get sticky and more viscous, like wax. Before trusting one of these, be sure it is parchment, but then other times consuming practice is less common now. Like they would put it in parchment paper too. So make sure though with the silicone and medical grade and using curing system, it makes it more hypoallergenic, non-toxic, and durable. Shatter and other BHO were once formed into coins and folded into parchments, but this time consuming practices is less common now. Dip Devices has branded a shell container made with medical grade silicone lining, perfect for using the ceramic tip products. These have also been very useful, not just dip users. So cannabis packaging equates to product longevity. Proper packaging, proper quality will keep in your prominent terpene profiles better and healthier, but fresher. Also, where you store it to at home also plays a big factor too. So get it out of your fucking plastic bags when you get it from your plug and put it in a Grove bag or a glass jar by 8 Decades. These tips can help. Hopefully you experience that. And once again, thank you all you brand ambassadors out there in the world. We appreciate you for everything you do. Alcohol versus marijuana. Alcohol versus marijuana. Alcohol versus marijuana.
The debate continues.
And we go on and on.
Is it possible that both drugs are somewhat harmful and beneficial? Every year, I'm asked the same question about alcohol and marijuana. Which is more dangerous to consume? In truth, this is a difficult question to answer because the two drugs have quite different and complex actions in the brain. Also, it's difficult to define what more dangerous really means concerning the brain as compared to the well-known consequences of the consumption of alcohol on the body. The World Health Organization recently concluded that no level of alcohol consumption is safe for our health. Alcohol is a toxic, psychoactive, and dependence-producing substance and has been classified as a Group 1 carcinogen by the International Agency for Research on Cancer decades ago. Why don't we know this? This is the highest risk group, which also includes asbestos, radiation, and tobacco. Wonderful. So the debate about alcohol appears to have been settled. Would you agree?
That's, remember they used to say like a glass of wine is good for you?
Yeah.
One beer is okay, one whatever, but overindulgence, now they're saying nothing.
Yeah, well, this is decades that it's been in this class.
Right.
Yeah. So studies on animals and data collected from that's a rough one.
Didn't practice that word.
I did. Epidemiological. I can't do it right now. Strongly support, you know what I mean. Strongly support the use of marijuana for the treatment of chronic pain or in diseases with symptoms produced by inflammation. If you're thinking of getting a recommendation to treat your symptoms associated with chronic brain trauma, Crohn's disease, fibromyalgia, glaucoma, inflammatory bowel disease, multiple sclerosis, chronic or severe pain, spinal cord injury, traumatic brain injury, or ulcerative colitis, you may experience significant relief. Currently, there is no reliable evidence that marijuana can cure any of these conditions, but it can reduce the severity of some symptoms. The risk and benefits of cannabis are age-dependent. The prenatal brain is very vulnerable to the presence of cannabis. Overall, the available evidence indicates that the adolescent brain is still vulnerable to cannabinoids. Essentially, cannabis alters the normal trajectory of brain maturation. Maturation. Is that right? Though the consequences seem to be less severe than those of prenatal exposure. The combined evidence from numerous human and animal studies suggests that exposure to cannabis during adolescence has the potential to produce subtle but lasting alterations in brain function and behavior. The severity differs according to the duration of use, age at first use, and underlying genetic vulnerabilities that are more likely to appear during adolescence, such as various psychopathologies. Cannabis use is becoming more common in older people. The majority of users in this group, primarily between 50 and 60 years old, were older people.
Seasoned.
Yeah.
Well-seasoned people.
They report their most common reason for turning to cannabis is for pain reduction due to illness or injury. Most patients report that although cannabis is not more effective, it has fewer unpleasant side effects than over-the-counter or prescription pain medications. A recent study assessed the relationship between long-term medical cannabis use and cognitive function in a sample of middle-aged and older patients with chronic pain. Their results suggested that the use of whole plant medical cannabis does not harm cognition in older patients. It is critical to take notice that this study, as well as the majority of other epidemiological, I didn't say it right, studies, utilizes the whole plant rather than specific extracts. The benefits from specific components of the plant have yet to be fully defined. Indeed, we may discover that the greatest benefits may only be realized from the aggregate actions of all the components of the plant, but only time will tell.
Love it.
Yeah. So they just ruled out alcohol. Like, we're not even going to do there is no verses.
Nothing.
They don't compete.
Nope, they don't. So,
unfortunately, the general perception is that they do.
right.
People parallel them all the time and say, oh, weed, beer, it's kind of the same thing. A lot of people think that.
Right.
But
it's not.
It's not.
It's not. I mean, I love a good beer, but I don't overindulge in alcohol anymore. I hate hangovers, as I've talked about. So, but I do indulge in beer. I very rarely drink hard liquor. I have a cocktail if someone makes a good cocktail, or you make me a cocktail or something, but very rarely do I drink hard liquor. But I do like beer. I mean, I love a good Pils.
A nice cold, crisp beer is very nice.
High Life is my life. Good ice cold High Life, the little grenades that we drink. I mean, I drink 2 of those. It's like 14 ounces. Yeah,
it's one beer.
Yeah, it's one beer, and that's what I drink on a Saturday night. And like, people make fun of me. I'm like, listen, I don't need a lot of it. I just enjoy it.
Right.
So, but nothing good. I love a good High Life, boy. Oh, man. Science and health. Medical marijuana improves quality of life for Crohn's and ulcerative colitis patients, study shows. I got it right. Yay. Weed makes me smarter. A new scientific review of research on the impacts of marijuana on inflammatory bowel disease, such as Crohn's disease, and ulcerative colitis (UC) finds the cannabinoid therapy help reduce disease activity and improve quality of life in patients with chronic disease.
Nice.
Hell yeah. This meta-analysis of clinical trials suggests that cannabinoids are associated with improved quality of life in both CD and UC, wrote the 4-doctor University of Pennsylvania team behind the new research. Lots of cool research we've been getting.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing. I mean, this is like not some small little like underground research. This is like the University of Pennsylvania. The other one I read was the Croatians talking about CBD and THC, and also what was the Netherlands, just amazing what we're seeing now. Notably, however, no reduction in inflammation was observed in patients who took cannabinoids, nor were any difference observed when analyzing patients' endoscopies.
You can tell that Mr. Weedman's very healthy because these are all standard things that he's never had to experience yet.
And I never will.
Lucky you.
And I never will. I never will. Never. My body is a temple. It will be healthy forever. Anyway, the research published in the Journal of Inflammatory Bowel Disease evaluated 8 total studies, including 4 into Crohn's, 3 into ulcerative colitis, and 1 study of both diseases. Among 5 studies of CD, a statistically significant decrease in clinical disease activating following intervention was observed. An abstract of the new review says, clinical disease activity in UC was not significantly lower in the pooled analysis. Improvement in quality of life was observed in both CD and UC combined, as well as individually. In March of this year, a separate study in the Journal of Health Research and Medical Science found that cannabinoids show potential in improving disease activity. right? Cannabinoids help you. Does the body good. And quality of life in patients with UC. Meanwhile, a study out of Australia's last year found that patients with chronic health conditions saw significant improvements in overall quality of life and reductions in fatigue during first 3 months of medical marijuana. Thanks, homies in Australia. Peace. Patients experiencing anxiety, depression, and chronic pain also improved in those outcomes over 3 months, the study found. Findings of another study last year that examined marijuana and neurocognitive effects suggest that prescribed medical cannabis may have minimal acute impact on cognitive function among patients with chronic health conditions. Could be a relief to a long-term cannabis patients who are concerned about potential neurological drawbacks of the drug. Yet another study last year published by the American Medical Association found that the use of medical marijuana was associated with significant improvements in quality of life. That's a big American Medical Association. Not
Yeah, they
right?
believe in it.
Yeah. And the quality of life with chronic conditions like pain and insomnia, and those effects are largely sustained over time. Sustained. Sorry, Yuki.
Yuki, what's up?
Sorry, Yuki. I woke her up. She was having a nap. Sorry, girl.
She grunted.
No.
Like, oh.
If you have a German Shepherd out there in the world, you will relate with us. This dog is a moaner. Oh.
She'll and very dramatic, she'll just thunk her body down on the ground and then be like, whoa. You people are so boring. Take me for another walk. Oh, see?
Yeah,
Hi,
she
Yuki.
Then she just got up and got all pissed off. She's going upstairs. People who use marijuana are less likely to have severe what, Mrs. Weedman? COVID infections,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Another
me.
study
Yes.
shows.
Yeah.
This is big.
Yep. A new study shows that cannabis users have lower rates of severe COVID-19 infections and experience fewer serious consequences, such as death or lengthy hospital stays when they get the virus. Cannabis users had better outcomes and mortality compared to non-users, says the report authored by researchers at Northwell Health in New York. The beneficial effect of cannabis use, it adds, may be attributed to its immunomodulatory effects. The study, published in the journal Cannabis and Cannabinoid Research, looked at data from the National Inpatient Sample Database, which tracks hospital admissions. Patients admitted for a COVID diagnosis were divided into cannabis users and non-user groups, and they were also matched in an effort to account for differences in age, race, gender, and other comorbidities.
You got the hard ones today.
Comorbidities. On initial analysis, cannabis users had significantly lower rates of severe COVID-19 infection, intubation, acute respiratory distress syndrome, acute respiratory failure, severe sepsis, and multi-organ failure, mortality, and shorter length of hospital stay, the paper says. Results of the current study were previewed last year in a different form at the annual conference of the American College of Chest Physicians in Honolulu. Another study by researchers in Canada found that cannabinoids have been shown to prevent viral entry, mitigate oxidative stress, and alleviate the associated cytokine storm of early COVID-19 infections and could help treat long COVID symptoms. Post-SARS-CoV-2 infection, cannabinoids have shown promise in treating symptoms associated with post-acute long COVID-19, including depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress, insomnia, pain, and decreased appetite, it said. That research took into account a long list of existing studies, aiming to fill the knowledge gap on how endocannabinoid system modulation might impact patients in the early and post-infection stages. Prior studies had focused on marijuana as a treatment option during the acute phase of a COVID-19 infection. Cannabis and cannabinoid-based drugs have shown promise in preventing viral entry, acting as an anti-inflammatory agent and improving many symptoms associated with post-acute SARS-CoV-2 infections, authors concluded. A 2022 laboratory study from researchers at Oregon State University, meanwhile, found that certain cannabinoids can potentially prevent COVID-19 from entering human cells. But, as doctors at UCLA have noted, that study focused on CBGA and CBDA, under lab conditions and did not assess marijuana smoking by patients themselves. Another scientific review published this year highlighted the potential of CBD to treat and manage the symptoms of COVID-19, along with conditions such as epilepsy, pain, cancer, schizophrenia, and diabetes. During the early months of COVID-19 pandemic, some cannabis advocates claimed, with little evidence, that marijuana or CBD could prevent, treat, or even cure coronavirus infection, a claim many other advocates warned was premature and dangerous. In March of 2020, for example, former NFL player Kyle Turley, who said that medical marijuana changed his life, was warned by the FDA and the Federal Trade Commission over claims on social media that cannabis products would prevent and cure COVID-19. So, we can't say it can prevent or cure, but research is definitely showing that it helps treat
That's
it.
good.
Yeah.
It
very
helps,
good.
right?
Yeah.
That's what we want.
Especially for long COVID. People
Right.
are suffering like big time with memory loss and yeah.
I the first time I got COVID was like right when it came out, and it was a no brainer. I was going to get it because it was 250 people in town, and we were all sharing joints and bottles of bourbon that we were sipping out of. So it was guaranteed that somebody was going to give it to us, and it was like
And
right
then it was like boom, boom, boom,
everybody
like
had got
dominoes.
it. Like 90% of the company got it. So we were all. I mean,
You were sick.
Whoo! Never in my life have I been, and I can usually beat something in like 2 days. I'm pretty good. I was in bed for 5.
sick.
I was in bed for 5 days, in bed, dying, and I was just pounding edibles like crazy and taking NyQuil, and I was in. It was fucking horrific that first wave of COVID. It was fucking brutal. I had never been that sick in my whole life. I couldn't move. I was hot. I was cold. My head
in
was
pain.
pounding. My body ached so bad. I couldn't eat. I didn't want to see, smell, and I just said, "Give me edibles, every different kind. Just give me
Just go to
everything,
sleep.
and give me NyQuil." And I remember though, for a good month after that, I couldn't form a complete sentence correctly. I'm not even good at it anyway, but it was even worse. I had trouble talking for a while. I didn't lose sense of smell and sense of taste, but I got the after effects, and that lasted for a good 90 days. But the first couple of weeks when I was back to work, it was very hard to put sentences together. I mean,
You're
I could
having trouble finding words.
yes. Oh my God, it was brutal. And trying to do the show because we had just started the show. I mean, it was like going into our. It was rough for a minute there, And yeah, it's great though. I did have cannabis to help. The second time I got COVID, it wasn't bad. It was just like having the flu, And it was lasted 4 days, and I was right back. I was 100% fine. But the
Right.
first one, that first strain, whoo-wee. That was rough.
But I never got it.
You got it once.
Yeah, but I didn't
Oh,
get
you
it
didn't get
at
it that
time.
first time.
Yeah.
No, we
Yeah.
stayed. I mean, we stayed away from each other.
Right.
We bagged. I was upstairs in our bedroom and in the basement. That was it. And I wore a
We, like,
mask. And I was covered
alternated
up.
spaces.
Yeah, you had your bathroom in the bedroom, and we had cover. I felt really alone. I think I talked
Yeah.
about this, how alone I felt. But yes, it I will say, cannabis helped me get through the pain of what my body was experiencing. So, political and state news. Something I've been talking about now for the last 2 years has finally produced. And I've been talking about these for a long time. And I know there's a lot of people out there that say this product that comes from cannabis is dog shit. It's the bottom of the barrel weed, whatever. But it generated $4.1 billion in sales over 18 months. Do you want to know what that is, Mrs. Weedman? And what I've been talking about to dispensaries for the last
I think
couple
I know,
of years?
but go ahead, tell me.
What are you smoking in your hand? What was that we got?
A pre-roll.
A fucking pre-roll. A pre-roll. Pre-rolls have done $4.1 billion in sales over 18 months. The company Headset provided the insight about the current state of the pre-roll market. The cannabis industry experts in pre-rolls packaging and manufacturing solutions, Custom Cones USA, published a pre-roll white paper in partnership with Headset to compile a comprehensive report on the state of pre-roll market in 2024. Data from 2023 and the first half of 2024 shows that pre-rolls amassed more than $4.1 billion in sales revenue and sold over 394 million units in that span. To gain comprehensive insights into the current state of the pre-roll market, Custom Cones USA partnered with cannabis industry analytics from Headset, combining their retail points of sale data across 12 U.S. states from January. This is just 12 U.S. states from January of 2023 to June of 2024, as well as Custom Cones USA's B2B insights from more than 300 companies representing every corner of the pre-roll industry, including recreational medical cannabis producers, hemp producers, plant processors, vertically integrated brands, cannabis brand agencies, dispensaries, and multi-state operators. Notable findings include pre-rolls amassed $4.1 billion in sales, revenue sold 394 million units from January of 2023 to June of 2024. Okay, I'm going to tell you something for all you out there. If you know me and I've met you and I've talked to you about pre-rolls and why your dispensary should do pre-rolls, this is the reason why. It is a money generating maker. Okay, I'm going to teach you all something out there about sales and about people in general. When I was younger, I sold a lot of liquor, okay? And I used to watch people go to the liquor store or get off the train and stop at the little train stand and get a 19 ounce or a 16 ounce can of beer and put it in a fucking brown paper bag and drink it on their way home. Do you want to know why? Because they just got done working an 8-hour day of work, okay? And now they have to go home to the kids. And they used to say to me, those fucking damn kids, I got to drink a beer to calm my nerves down. It was a grab and go item because now they were having to go from 8 hours of work, of fucking getting drilled by their boss and fucking grinding, to go home and having to deal now with cooking, cleaning. I'm talking about husbands and wives. Cooking, cleaning, getting the kids ready for school, bed, all the fun stuff. And then you finally get a chance to relax when? At like 9:30 at night, to watch the news and all the misery that comes with the news and then go to bed.
And do it all over again.
And do it all over again. So why are pre-rolls so important? Because not everybody wants to go to the dispensary and buy an eighth on their way home. They want to smoke a pre-roll, a half gram or a full gram before they walk in that door of the house and call their wife outside and say, hey, listen, or call their husband outside or their partner and say, I got a joint, come outside before you go inside because we're going to have to deal now another 4 to 6 hours with our damn kids. Those damn kids. I love our kids, but there's a point in time where you would be like, I need a break, right? Cannabis gives you that break to be able to deal with everything that's going to come. That's why pre-rolls are important. They're a grab and go item. What's the most important thing when you go? What's the most bought thing when you go to a grocery store? Things. It's not the outside.
Checkout.
It's not the outside of the aisle. It's not the inside of the aisles. It's the grab and go items that you make the most money on. A candy bar, a pack of gum, a magazine, whatever. They make 100 and so much % on that item. And it's a grab and go consistency item. I'm good. $4.1 billion. Use that to your advantage. I want a pre-roll on the way home. I like it. It's great. Make sure this decent. It doesn't have to be. People don't care about all the different terpenes and all the different cannabinoids and the flavors and all that stuff when it comes to a pre-roll. They want it for one reason and one reason only.
They just want to get baked.
They want to get high and maybe convenience. 2 reasons.
Convenience.
Yes.
I think for me, convenience.
Right.
We've talked about it before.
Yeah. Give the consumer what they want. $4.1 billion said so in 18 months. Somebody thought wisely. Just like those 2 women farmers in fucking New York selling dime bags and making millions. Brilliant. I digress. Legal market marijuana prices in Michigan reached a historical low in July. The average price for an ounce is $79.70 per ounce, propelling the second largest sales month in July at $286.4 million. But the price declined in 2020 due to oversupply, competition, and preparations for the October outdoor harvest, which is going to generate a lot of weed. Be clear, the inventory with enforcement against illegal products is intensifying. Some operators see price hikes while struggling, ones sell at low prices. Ohio's recent legalization could impact Michigan's market, but the effects remain uncertain. Because you can get a fucking ounce for $79.70 in fucking Michigan.
Yeah.
You know? California lawmakers approved bill to prevent double taxation of marijuana by local governments. Double taxation. Like they're not getting taxed enough. The old flip-flop. The old flipperoonie. We watched the debate tonight, didn't we, Mrs. Weedman?
Oh, we did.
And once again, weed gets it in the ass. Not even a mention, but they can mention it on every campaign trail. They can mention it on every news article.
Because it gets some votes.
The old flippity-rooney. Who's flipping who off right now? And when it comes to cannabis, now Trump is for cannabis. Harris is for cannabis. They all flip-flop. Flip-flop on this, flip-flop on that. I don't even care about the debate. All I'm saying is, once again, cannabis gets no love on the main stage.
Yep.
So that means they really, truly don't care about us. Poll shows the swing state voters support marijuana legalization, highlighting supporting for presidential campaigns. A new poll by Ranger Research shows strong support for marijuana legalization among voters in key swing states like Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. 62% favor adult use legalization, and 84% support medical cannabis. In Florida, 65% back ballot measure for adult use legalization. Yes, but they still got to go to the polls and vote for it. Just because 65% support it don't mean they're going to the polls. You need 60%. So how about go out there and get it, show them what you're really made of, and get like 69%. Okay? Show that you really wanted it and vote for it in November, Florida. The survey highlights an opportunity for presidential candidates to align with voter preference of cannabis reform. As a swing state voter, see clearer, more responsible marijuana laws that reflect societal changes and healthcare benefits. DC's medical marijuana dispensaries are getting smoked because of the gifting program there, not legalizing it in DC. It's just crazy. So these
there's a lot of limitations on what they can do.
Yeah, in DC, it's crazy. Yeah. It's nuts. So they're getting smoked right now by everything and everybody. And there's only 12 of them there, and they can't make money in Washington, D.C. That's sad.
That's sad.
Presidential elections are all over the board for marijuana. The 2024 presidential election shows mixed positions of marijuana. Federal restrictions persist despite state legalizations, with Biden's administration making limited progress on cannabis reform. Trump recently expressed support for Florida's recreational legalization, but his team remains generally anti-cannabis. Robert Kennedy Jr. running independently, or now not really running independently. He put himself off of most ballots, but he was pro-marijuana. Kamala Harris has shifted from opposing marijuana to supporting legalization while running Tim Walz. We know what he's done in Minnesota is a clear advocate. The outcome of the election could significantly impact the cannabis industry's future. We shall see. Indigenous Wisconsinites launched medical marijuana campaign. Another tribe. Wisconsin tribal members have launched a campaign to advance medical marijuana legalization in the state. Hell yeah, do exactly what North Carolina just did, which I'll read in a second, and also what Louisiana's about to do. Do it. They can't touch you. You just won't get federal money. But I'm telling you right now, the lines that were going on in North Carolina this weekend, because they opened it up to everybody, were miles long. Miles. And Wisconsin's not legal. You will capture market share. Wait prolonged for medical cannabis patients in Alabama after hearing. Oh. Still fucking going on. Still. Alabama, I feel sorry for you. I really do. I love you all down there. We have a big following in Birmingham and all over Alabama. I love you all down there. I wish and pray and hope that someday you will be able to buy weed legally somewhere. THCO, which we've talked about on the show, qualifies as legal hemp under federal law. Appeals court says rejecting DEA's restrictive stance.
Wow.
Good for you. Ohio tops 444 million in first month of recreation sales. Wow. In the first 26 days, total rec med sales reached 75.6 million, implying an annualized run rate of 1.6 billion they can do for the full year if you had the full run rate. So between medical and rec, it is 75.6 million. That was the first. That wasn't even a full month. That was the first 26 days. A full month, I could see them doing about 60, 65 million. Yep. And they don't even have a lot of dispensaries open yet. Just wait. So they'll be right up there like Missouri and Illinois. And, they'll never hit Michigan numbers, but Michigan's out of control. $265, $250 million months is crazy.
Months.
Months.
Why?
Because it's just good weed, cheap. People come from all over to buy it. It's just nuts. Kentucky medical cannabis program receives staggering numbers of business applications. Governor Andy Beshear and the vast majority of license applications are for dispensaries. Governor Andy Beshear announced during his Team Kentucky update on last Thursday. Now this is crazy because I just talked about they had like almost 1,000 applications last week when I talked about this. You ready for this? You ready? This is crazy. The Kentucky Medical Marijuana Program received 4,998 applications for licenses from prospective medical cannabis businesses. Tier 1 cultivator got 239 applications. Tier 2 cultivator got 190. Tier 3 cultivator got got 155. Processor got 333. Get ready, dispensary, drum roll please. 4,076.
Whoa. Well, I guess if they have
and
kind
safety
of like
compliance facilities got 5.
Well, they have. Well, okay. So that whole batch of applicants, they'll give out X amount of of licenses to each of those categories. Will they keep those remaining applicants as like next in line?
No.
You have to reapply again. Wow.
And remember I read
it costs a lot of money.
Remember I read last week how much each one cost?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoa. That's crazy.
They made a lot of money.
Yeah.
So I think it was like $5,000 for a dispensary application and a $4,076
I think they should
applied.
automatically get carried over into the next, at least one consecutive lotto. And new entries can be added to that.
All I know is that's a lot of applications.
That's a lot.
And you get put into a lottery.
Right.
If your application is accepted. And you have to, don't forget, you have to
So you have to,
everything
everything's got to
correct
be like so perfect.
to get put into the next phase, which is a lottery.
Wow. That's just, wow.
It's probably the fairest way to do it.
Yeah, it is.
But the unfair way is you should give the money back.
Yeah.
And charge them maybe
Or you get a percentage.
Take 10%
You get
out
fee,
for
yeah.
processing fee.
Yeah.
The $5,000 is to hold it. Then you also had to have a couple $100,000 in the bank to show that you could pay for the license and all the other stuff that comes with it.
That should all be returned.
Right. 100%.
Yeah.
This is exciting.
But
Woodstock, Illinois
yay.
we heard that they were going to get a dispensary up there. That license didn't go through.
Okay.
But new marijuana dispensary okayed for former fast food joint. The
Nice.
Woodstock City Council approves former Burger King site of marijuana dispensary. A former Burger King in Woodstock across the street from the new McHenry County Election Center and Woodstock Secretary of State's office soon will be home to a marijuana dispensary.
A Burger King. I like that.
Love it. Love it. California governor unveils emergency rules to ban hemp products with any detectable amount of THC. California Governor Gavin Newsom introduced emergency regulations banning hemp products with any detectable amount of THC. The new rule aims at addressing concerns over unregulated THC content in hemp-derived products aligned with the state's cannabis standards. The move allows rising concerns over safety and market confusion between hemp and cannabis products. Manufacturers will need to ensure their hemp products contain no detectable THC, including Delta-8, which has been a point of contention in both state and federal regulations. They're just totally fucking the hemp industry and all the people. I mean, they're the same. You all need each other. Dozens of marijuana products in New Mexico recalled over contamination concerns. Another state. The state's Cannabis Control Division Board has ordered dozens of marijuana products pulled from the shelves over concerns that they were contaminated. The recall comes after cannabis flower tested positive for prohibited pesticides. The affected cannabis products were sold in Albuquerque, Los Lunas, Belen, Carlsbad, Alamogordo, and Sunland Park. The state released a full list of package ID numbers and locations for contaminated products. Please check your local website about that. So,
Well, that sucks.
yeah. Clarifying congressional intent for THC is necessary steps towards marijuana reform. To discuss the need of Congress to clarify its stance on THC as part of the broader marijuana reform, the 2018 Farm Bill unintentionally created a loophole, I call it business development, allowing hemp-derived intoxications to be sold unregulated, which was never Congress's intent. Closing this loophole, business development, is essential for developing a unified regulatory system for THC products, whether from hemp or marijuana. The article argues that both should be treated under a single federal framework to end the regulatory confusion and advance cannabis reform. So that means the whole hemp industry, if the THC side of things, will be destroyed. So unless they figure it out. Cannabis use falls among U.S. teenagers, but rises among everyone else.
I can't lift my arm anymore.
First weed shop in North Carolina opened this weekend.
Nice.
The first legal recreational cannabis store in North Carolina is open to its doors on Saturday, September 7th at 91 Bingo Loop Road in Cherokee, Swain County, reported the Asheville Citizen Times.
That's a long address to write.
That is a very long address. The
I
Great
guess you don't have to write it.
The Great Smoky Cannabis Company, an eastern band of Cherokee Indians. Good for you.
Cool.
Medical Marijuana announced this summer that recreational cannabis was available to adult members of the ECBI and other federally recognized Native American tribes. The store opening celebration took place over the weekend.
Sweet.
Fuck yes.
Yeah.
Florida medical patient growth slows again. Another slower year, but sales are still the same. So, I don't know if people are going to go out and vote for this because maybe people are just waiting for recreational and just don't need to get a card anymore. Then you just need to go out and vote. So a look at the growth of West Virginia's medical cannabis industry. We don't talk much about. There's a few states we don't talk a lot about. Idaho, West Virginia, Mount Mama, take me home. There's a few other states, but Kansas we don't talk about except for Dorothy and Toto. There's a few states out there that you need to get your shit together and get some cannabis going. Nebraska, we do bust their chops a lot. But it's going to be on the ballot. But here, West Virginia, medical cannabis program has significantly expanded since its 2017 launch, which notably growth from 2022 onward. As of August 2024, there were 62 dispensaries statewide and 34,003 approved patient applications out of 49,073 received. Monongalia County, with 2,162 patients, ranks second in the state, behind Kanawha County. Sales surged from under 500,000 in late 2021 to 8.39 billion in August of 2024. Wow. Chronic pain is the most common condition treated. An age 35 to 54 age group represents the largest portion of patients. Didn't we watch that show with Michael Keaton, that series? Yes. It was a big, the opioid crisis started there. It was huge in that little mining town. This is good to see because they're using it for what? Chronic pain. And why do people use opioids? Chronic pain. So we see this at the age group through 35 to 54, which was a lot of people that were getting hooked on opioids because of chronic pain and because of working hard and working on farms and working in the coal mines and being fucking productive fucking citizens of this country and providing things that we needed across the country. If you all heard it, that was Yuki. You get hurt on the jobs, and that's why that opioid crisis hit them pretty hard from what we watched on that show. But to see that there's patients now and their medical program is doing well, that's good to see. So congratulations, West Virginia, on what you're doing there, and keep it going. Hemp and marijuana companies must do what?
Stop fighting.
Do what?
Unite.
And what else?
Unite.
Come together.
That's not in the title.
I understand. Figured you would come outside the box and know the song. But no, seriously though.
Yes.
Seriously, folks. This is like the governments of states and the governments of the federal government has pitted you against one another. I've said this is enough money for everybody. It needs to be on a fair playing field. I understand why the THC dispensaries, legal dispensaries, are frustrated with seeing what hemp doing, because you're able to, with the business development, put THC in edibles and sell them across state lines and do stuff that
without all the regulations and red tape and the cost
that the regulated THC market in states are getting hit at. High taxes. Can't cross state lines, can't intermingle. There's so much wrong with that. And I understand why they're frustrated. But you all need to, like in Florida right now, the hemp companies are giving DeSantis money. And then you have the cannabis companies giving money to the votes, to get the votes to, doing commercials and paying for it to be able to go legal on Amendment 3 in November. They're fighting against one another. Large amounts of money are being wasted. Yes, I'm saying it. Wasted. $12 million were just donated to DeSantis for his campaign. $7 million more by TrueLeaf to be donated to run campaigns for cannabis legalization. It is absolutely fucking asinine that you could be using this money to do what? Pay your employees better. Better proper sanitation, better working conditions, better living conditions for your employees, keeping them happy, and you're wasting money on lobbyists and bullshit. And this is what's so wrong with this fucking country. And we watched a debate tonight that didn't even talk anything about, all I heard, if I had to take one more hit of my joint, because every time they said the word plan, I had to take a hit of the joint. They said plan 62 times in 90 minutes. So that's 62 times I had to hit a joint. I'm lucky I was able to do the show tonight. I was seeing crooked. But seriously, you're fighting against one another. And you shouldn't be. You should be fucking forming a strong alliance and a team to fight the fucking federal government because you're one in the same plant. You buy your fucking cannabinoids, cannabis companies. You buy your cannabinoids from fucking hemp companies that can make CBG and CBN and give you all those isolates that you need to put in your fucking edibles and put in your tinctures and all this shit. You're all full spectrum and all this stuff that you get to sell. You're getting it from the hemp companies. You can't grow that all in your fucking cultivation. You wouldn't have enough room. Mm-hmm. What are you doing? You're gonna fuck each other. I digress.
So should I just skip the article?
No. I want people to understand why this is so important.
Yep. You ready for it?
Tell us about it, Mrs. Weedman.
All right. So we need these hemp and cannabis companies to stop feuding and unite for regulations instead of bans like California's new move. California Governor Gavin Newsom is wrong about hemp, and Florida hemp interests are wrong about Amendment 3. Hemp and marijuana interests must stop fighting each other and learn to work together. It's time for all of us to unify as cannabis interests to advocate for a cohesive federal regulatory pathway that covers all cannabinoid products, starting with full-spectrum CBD and other hemp products legalized under the 2018 Farm Bill. Newsom's proposal to ban all hemp products in California will force consumers into a dispensary system rife with products contaminated by pesticides, according to an investigation by the LA Times. The only way for Californians to ensure their cannabis products are free of pesticides is with the USDA organic seal. And the only way to get the USDA organic seal on cannabis products is to make them legal under federal law, as hemp products are today. Therefore, all hemp and cannabis interests should be working together towards this collective goal of creating federal regulations instead of taking sides like Newsom. The lack of FDA regulations for hemp products has created a bad regulatory landscape for cannabinoids that's confusing and incomplete, and not just in California. This isn't because of hemp, it's because of a lack of action by the FDA. The FDA claims to lack the authority to regulate hemp products until Congress provides a new regulatory pathway. For 6 years and counting, this regulatory limbo has left consumers exposed to unscrupulous hemp brands that make unverified claims and low-quality products, undermining the trust in our industry. This has set marijuana interests against hemp interests at a time when we should be unified. Full-spectrum CBD products, which contain a range of cannabinoids, including naturally occurring delta-9 THC below 0.3% by weight, offer significant health benefits beyond what isolated CBD can provide, studies have shown. However, the absence of a clear regulatory framework on finished packaged goods prevents hemp companies from marketing these products effectively. Instead of embracing innovation, we find ourselves navigating a complex web of state-level regulations, confusing terms and conditions from online platforms, as well as uncertainty from brick-and-mortar retailers, and uncertainty made even worse by Newsom's actions last week. This is where collaboration between hemp and marijuana companies becomes crucial. Historically, the hemp and marijuana industries have operated somewhat in parallel while catering to different customer types, with hemp initially focusing on non-psychoactive products and marijuana on those with higher THC content. However, as the cannabinoid market expands and consumers seek diverse product options, it's evident that these lines have blurred, and joining forces at this point seems inevitable. Yeah. By joining forces, we can create a stronger, more cohesive voice to advocate for comprehensive regulation by leveraging the fact that Congress has already legalized THC in hemp. That means that hemp is the foot in the door for legal and regulated cannabis. And a unified front allows us to present a clear, consistent message to lawmakers about the need for a regulatory framework that encompasses all cannabinoid products, starting with hemp. This collaboration can lead to the development of standards that ensure product safety and address the concerns of public health advocates. Hemp is cannabis, as defined by Congress, by its THC content. So, when marijuana interests attack hemp in Congress or a governor attacks hemp from behind the state seal, it weakens our collective ability to legalize and regulate cannabis in Congress by strengthening our opponents. We can't win if we fight against ourselves.
True that.
Earlier this year, major marijuana groups aligned themselves with prohibitionist organizations like Smart Approaches to Marijuana to support Republican Mary Miller's amendment in the Farm Bill and the corresponding Agricultural Appropriations Bill, which would recriminalize all hemp products with any amount of THC, even naturally occurring Delta-9 THC below 0.3% in a subordinate ratio to CBD. Luckily for the American consumer, hemp interests put the brakes on the Farm Bill. Do you know how much of a setback that would have been?
Oh, my God.
Whew. Causing it to stall in Congress. And in July, the House of Representatives failed to pass the Agricultural Appropriations Bill, in part because the Mary Miller Amendment was added to it by well-known cannabis opponent Andy Harris of Maryland. In the California legislature, we saw the same thing. Marijuana interest groups urged lawmakers to pass AB 2223, which would have recriminalized hemp products for sale outside the California dispensary system. By failing to meet a critical deadline in late August, AB 2223 died because, like the Mary Miller Amendment, it was just fundamentally unpopular. And now, Newsom has enforced this unpopular opinion that he could not force through the legislature. But this criticism goes both ways. Hemp companies need to stop opposing marijuana reform. Everyone in the Florida hemp industry should be supporting Amendment 3 to legalize adult-use cannabis in the Sunshine State, rather than letting short-term benefits cloud a long-term vision.
True that.
What if we all work together? What if marijuana interests join that with hemp companies to create a regulatory framework for all federally legal cannabinoid products? As more cannabinoid products become legal, including botanical flower, then these newly legalized products could have a regulatory framework to safeguard consumers that would be less burdensome than the state legal dispensary systems of today. Legalization by Congress is only half the battle. Getting regulated appropriately after passing legalization through Congress could be even more difficult. The good news for marijuana is that hemp is already doing the hard work, but that only matters if we all work together now and Newsom's actions don't make this difficult job any easier. Again, let's say hemp and marijuana companies need to set aside their differences and work together to create a regulatory framework that covers all cannabinoid products. By leveraging the collective influence, they can create an environment where consumer safety is assured, underage sales are eliminated, and small businesses are protected. Let's unite.
Small businesses are protected.
Mm-hmm. Let's unite to create a future where adult cannabinoid consumers can choose from a variety of safely made products from whatever retail setting they see fit, as long as they're over 21. The time to act is now by opposing Newsom's move in California. So,
like I said a little earlier, stop fighting. The only way we're going to get this shit taken care of is if we all come together.
It really makes sense for marijuana to get behind the whole concept that it's all hemp. And let it all be hemp. Then the regulation, that's what they're saying. Then the regulation is already there.
Right.
You sell it wherever you sell it. You grow it where you grow it.
Right.
You just have to get the licenses and you get the proper business license and boom, you can sell it.
There's enough. See, here's the thing. I like I said earlier, I can understand where cannabis companies versus hemp companies are coming from. They're heavily regulated, heavily targeted, taxed up the ass.
Yeah, they're mad, but they can make it better if they just join.
Right. But if you join forces and you make it better and you come together, there's enough money. Listen, the hemp industry is doing $15 billion a year. You're doing $40 billion a year. You're actually outpacing hemp, okay? You're doing very well. How much more do you want?
I think there would still be dispensaries. There's liquor stores.
Of course.
Why wouldn't there be dispensaries?
Of course.
Even if it was a completely loose regulation like hemp.
People are still going to go and buy their weed from a dispensary.
Wherever
they're
they
gonna
buy it.
Right. It's just greed.
There's going to be stuff at the grocery
It's just
store. There's
greed.
going to be
Instead
stuff
of-
at the
instead of-
bakery. Right.
So everybody trying to make a good living.
Right.
There's greedy people that think they can outsmart and outproduce and keep all the earnings for themselves.
They want to monopolize the industry.
Right. And all of our government officials across the country, whether you're a Democrat, Republican, Independent, don't give a fuck about any of it. We all need to come together as one country to make this thing work. We all have different opinions. We all have different things, but we all need to work together. It's the only way we're all going to survive this. Mm-hmm. You can all say I'm foolish. We need a two-party system. We don't need any of it. We need us all to come together as one and make things better. And until that happens, we're going to see the division and divide. And I watched the debate tonight, and I'm waiting to watch the rag mags tomorrow after what everything was just said.
Oh,
and
my gosh.
It's just
All the
nobody's
negativity.
helping anybody. All we're doing is fighting against one another. And not just in this country, around the world. It's just terrible. So, international news. Let's see how they're doing with cannabis over there. Zurich Cannabis Study receives positive assessment of controlled study into the recreational use of cannabis 1 year after it was launched. Our approach places the health and cannabis users at the center and shows that modern prevention work can go hand in hand with controlled access to cannabis products, declared Andreas Hori, a member of the city government in charge of public health. Awesome. A local assembly adopt resolution for legal cannabis cultivation in the state. This is in India. The committee proposed that the cultivation of cannabis for medicinal and industrial purposes, highlighting its potential as an economic asset for the state. Sweet. Cannabis users in South Africa get big boost. South Africa has made a significant progress for cannabis users by easing regulations on hemp cultivation. The government has introduced new permits without permit system that facilitates legal hemp farming, which is expected to boost the local cannabis industry. South Africa, go. Patients in the West Midlands are urging the UK government to expand access to medical cannabis, which has been legal since 2018 but remains largely unlicensed and unavailable through the NHS. Most prescriptions are obtained privately. Barbara Northall, a user for fibromyalgia, highlights its benefits but laments its limited NHS availability. Despite legal status, many products lack necessary trials or cost-effective evaluations. The rise in patients and visibility, including legal consumption lounges, contrasts with ongoing challenges such as high cost and restrictive prescribing practices, especially for children. A survey in Canada reveals that cannabis consumers increasingly seek relaxation as the primary reason for use, hence grabbing a pre-roll on the way home. The study highlights a shift from previous motivations like pain relief or recreational use, with a growing number of users prioritizing stress reduction and overall relaxation. This trend is influencing product preferences, with consumers favoring strains and products designed specifically for calming effects. This also notes that the demand for relaxation-oriented cannabis products is shaping market offerings and consumers' behavior in the industry. Positive stuff in international news. What is a weird brain?
Well, these are some weed smoking scientists who are celebrating weird brains. There's an old saying that goes, "It takes all kinds." The phrase is especially relevant in cannabis, with consumers ranging from once-a-year edible eaters to all-day dabbers. For many people, consuming cannabis is medicine. However, many patients have their consumption habits regularly called into question. The practice perpetuates stigma and forces people back into the shadows. One group hopes to change this narrative, and they're not just talking about weed. From neurodivergence to out-of-the-box ideas, the self-proclaimed weird brains are cannabis industry pros, taking their message of radical acceptance across the country. Composed of scientists, extractors, and community leaders, Weird Brains encourages people to embrace the quirks within themselves and their communities.
Hold on one second. Did you see the picture in the article?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. Is it because every time I've read this article, I've been extremely high, or is the brain actually with the cogs and with the colors actually moving?
No, I don't think it's moving.
You don't think it's moving?
I don't think it's moving.
Because every time I'm looking at that fucking brain, with it's pulsating, vibrating. So either I'm smoking really good weed and it's giving me the euphoric effect that I love so much, or the picture's actually moving.
I don't think it's moving. It's a photo.
We'll post this as one of the articles for you all, and then you tell me what you think.
We wanted to create conversations that we felt were deeply personal, meaningful, timely, and impactful, explained Kate Average, a founding member of Weird Brains. Those conversations have unfortunately been heavily disregarded, disrespected, and really cut out of the growth of the cannabis industry. And now we're at a point in time where there's a bit of breathing room for people to acknowledge that there are real issues that need to be addressed. The Weird Brains spark first flickered in late 2023 at the massive cannabis industry trade show MJ BizCon. Dustin Powers, the founder of the online forum Future 4200, met with Average, weed researchers Dr. Riley Kirk.
We've had her on the show.
And Dr. Mayabi Shields, as well as extraction expert Kat Sidman. Despite their vastly different backgrounds and opinions on various aspects of life, the crew soon realized there was a commonality. Pretty quickly on, I said, there's a group of weird brains, which is a kickback to this crazy punk band, Powers recalled. One big uniting thread, of course, was cannabis. Kirk explained that the plant is a gateway drug to Weird Brains, turning the prohibitionist mantra on its head. Not only does weed help people heal, it also opens their minds. Despite medical marijuana being legal in nearly every state, there is still a stigma around consumption, particularly for high-dose patients. This notion led the Weird Brains to take their message on the road. It really comes down to destigmatization and validating people's experiences, Kirk said. A lot of people are hesitant to admit that they are daily consumers because our society doesn't really think of cannabis as medicine. Whereas if you have something like Lexapro, it would be crazy for you not to take your medicine every day. If you ask the group what it means to have a weird brain, there is no one right answer. But the general idea is a mind that's non-conforming in some way, or perhaps even neurodivergent. Cannabis consumption may be in the mix, but isn't necessarily required. Shields and Kirk, who co-founded the nonprofit network of applied pharmacognosy, conduct research on all things cannabis, including consumer demographics. An early survey of cannabis users saw 71% identify as neurodivergent.
Is that the one that you took?
Probably.
Yeah.
A clear need for representation was part of the inspiration behind bringing Weird Brains to cannabis conferences and events across the country. The Weird Brains tour is about bringing up positivity, Shields explained, and bringing that to other communities, and then hearing their feedback and continuing to evolve what we think is helpful for the industry and consumers. The group debuted at NECAN Boston to a standing room only crowd. They discussed their personal journeys, the benefits of diverse mindsets, and how folks like them are often forgotten in mainstream society despite their talents and unique perspectives. If you want to have a legitimate shot in the cannabis industry, you need to have people on your team and people in positions of influence who really engage with the plant, Sidman argued. And the people who really engage with the plant, daily users, they're a little bit weird. Patients are often still stigmatized for their consumption, even when working in the cannabis space. The Weird Brains call for a deeper understanding within the industry and beyond about the nuances of medical marijuana and what individual dosing schedules can and should look like. The workplace accommodation thing is huge. I feel really passionately about that as a high-needs cannabis patient, Shields said, equating the stigma against plant medicine as a form of ableism. By all accounts, the response to the inaugural Weird Brains panel was overwhelmingly positive. Several attendees crowded the stage afterward, hoping to engage more. For Kirk, making so many in the room feel seen was deeply moving and a reminder of the urgent need for their message. Even people who clearly had social anxiety came up. They were shaking when they were trying to talk, but they still felt comfortable telling their story, Kirk said. I think that was one of the most beautiful things. With the success of their first presentation, the Weird Brains set up several more NECAN appearances throughout the year. The Weird Brains seek to raise awareness. There are many types of minds and cannabis consumers in the world, and they all deserve a seat at the table. The group is working to promote a campaign dubbed Proud Weird Brain through the sale of pins at select retailers. The proceeds will support Weird Brain's tour as well as research conducted. In a world where people are praised for inauthenticity and for fitting into a specific, perceived notion of who they should be, to be able to continue to find ways to empower, connect, and educate people who are not weird brains on what Weird Brains can bring to the table, that's really our goal. Average concluded.
Pretty great.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had Riley Kirk on the Grow Hour. I don't know what episode it was, but it was good to have her on. Very talented and knows her stuff when it comes to cannabis. Also, her and her husband live off the grid, and they are amazing at what they do.
Right?
Oh my God, yeah, they hunt and farm and do everything, and oh my God, amazing. So, it's high time that the NFL apologized to Ricky Williams for all the cannabis drama that they gave that poor running back. And he was a phenomenal running back. Also played at University of Madison, Wisconsin Madison too. Running back, broke the record first, and then the running back that followed him in Wisconsin broke the rushing record after him. So it's the same team a couple of years later. So yes. The NFL's outdated policies severely impacted Ricky Williams' career, leading to multiple suspensions and missed seasons. Despite his impressive stats, these suspensions, mainly due to cannabis use, marred his career. With the NFL now investing in cannabis research and the NCAA lifting its cannabis ban, there's a renewed call for the NFL to apologize to Ricky Williams and consider him for the Hall of Fame. Williams has since become a cannabis advocate, arguing for its benefits over the pain and management options. As the NFL embraces marijuana, it must issue former Miami Dolphins star Ricky Williams a long overdue apology. Yeah, I agree. So get him that fucking gold jacket. Get him into the Hall of Fame, will you? Yes, absolutely. So, Mrs. Weedman.
Mr. Weedman.
That's the end of the show.
I'm getting normal again.
Got anything else to say?
Have a great week, everybody. What do we have going on this weekend? We're
going to be at
Karma Club.
Yeah,
so
come hang
maybe
out.
we'll see you.
Come smoke a doink with Mr. and Mrs. Weedman.
Yeah.
So I also would like to thank the great team at Daze Off.
Oh, yeah.
For these wonderful doinks that we get to smoke during the show. And I'm going to smoke after the show.
Great group of people.
Yes.
Super nice.
Yes. We appreciate the hell out of you. We love seeing you. Thank you for the great time, the great food, the great memories, and the great laughs. I appreciate you.
Good product.
Yes, and great product too. So check out Daze Off. Thank you so much for throwing us some doinks. And we love you out there. Be kind to one another. Just do it. As Paulie always says, smoke smart. Puff, puff, and away.
Puff, puff, pass.
Check out our cannabis lifestyle brand online at 8decades.com. Our custom smokes and accessories are perfect for your coffee table, bedroom nightstand, or kitchen counter. They're designed for you to show them off. The Canna community is also loving our hemp and cotton blend t-shirts, sweatshirts, scarves, and hats, finished off with our 8 Decades logo. We've got some awesome long-lasting goods that will be your favorite for years to come. 8 Decades, because a 9th decade of cannabis prohibition isn't acceptable.